Welcome to NC Exclusive, the one we call the News Central Exclusive Conversation. My name is Kaide Akintami, and today I will say to you, many years ago, I did an interview on a different TV station with the outgoing governor of Anambra State. The interview has gone viral every few months because of its simplicity, the openness of the gentleman, and authentic way of making things complicated seem simplified. His name is Mr. Peter Obi. He was my guest over 10 years ago when he was the outgoing governor of Anambra State. He is happy to be simply recognized as Mr. Peter Obi, and he has created, without driving it, a movement that no politician in Nigeria has ever been able to create. It is called the Obedient Movement, and they are as loud as you can possibly imagine. Mr. Peter Obi, the Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections, is right here with me on News Central Exclusive. In today's interview, we'll delve into key issues surrounding leadership, the economy, and the internal dynamics of the Labour Party. Mr. Peter Obi, it's great to have you on NC Exclusive. You're welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. So now, Mr. Obi, you're being a voice in the wilderness during the 2023 campaign, highlighting the wastage by people in government. Here at News Central TV, we have had a look at the 2024 budget, and there are parts of it that give grave concerns about where the taxpayers' money is going. Have you had a look at the budget? And does it worry you, the amount of money that is going to agencies that look like they're going to fritter away taxpayers' money?
I have, and have several times raised concern, grave ones, about the budget. I've sent messages about it. If you follow me up in Twitter, you will see where I have complained severally. Even when the senator, one of them, alleged that there was 3 trillion pardon, I did make a humble appeal that that budget be taken back and looked at to ensure that the right things are there. Because you could see it clearly that the budget, now I'll give you a few examples which I've highlighted. The budget of, say, National Library. A country the size of Nigeria does not have a national library to date. We have the National Assembly trying to build its own library for about 15 billion naira. When the budget of National Library is not up to 1 billion. That is where the whole nation, and I'm sure the amount of their own library cumulatively, if we put all the universities together, you have budget of, again, National Assembly Clinic being 15 billion naira. When, if you put together the entire teaching hospitals, which is, in quotes, the height of our healthcare, if you put teaching hospital of our foremost universities, Ibadan, Nsukka, University of Nigeria, Ahmadu Bello, Lagos, is less than the budget of the capital budget, is less than the budget of National Assembly Clinic. I can go on and on. The Ministry of Science as a ministry, the entire capital budget is about 6 billion. When the budget of the car park of House of Rep and the Senate is about 6 billion.
So the priority of the government is to create car park.
It's totally
much more important.
misplaced in today's system. And if you've seen that the pardon, which they said is not true, have now become even a reality. Because if you go where you are now seeing in places of like National Space Research Development Agency, and you're now seeing 80 million for those beans in Oyo, 80 million for sensitization of unwanted pregnancy, 170 million for sensitization for traditional rulers on peace and conflict resolution in space agency.
So what space agency got to do with traditional rulers?
You can believe it. You're now seeing where we have about 300 million over a national news agency of Nigeria for tricycles and school renovation. So, and you can go on and on and on and seeing things like that, and you ask yourself, how did we come here? Like I've always said, government needs to prioritize our small resources in key development areas, which are health, education, and per capita, pulling people out of poverty. And these areas are not getting enough support. If you talk about your health care, the most important part of your health care is your primary health care. That is the foundation. We have today overtaken India in infant mortality, 7 times our population, and the capital budget of our primary health care for the whole nation is about 59 billion. The cost of our presidential jet at 100 million is about 160 billion. That is 3 times our primary health care.
And this is not the only private jet that the president has.
Just the new one we purchased.
Just the new one.
They said it's 100. We don't know the actual figure because they need to reconfigure it and everything.
So when you say they need to reconfigure it, are you suggesting the numbers are being massaged?
I don't know what is happening because nobody knows. We now live in an era where nobody knows what is happening. All you know is that you wake up in the morning, they tell you, we've bought these new cars, nobody. That is why I keep saying we must go back to the parliamentary system of governance. Even if we have to maintain the presidential system, we have to include where everything has to be explained.
But when you say parliamentary, you know that the Constitution of Nigeria says it's a presidential system. Are you by any means suggesting that there is a need, or you're suggesting and supporting those who say there's a need for a national conference where we decide a new constitution for Nigeria?
The way we govern Nigeria, not just the new constitution, the way we move as a country. Yes, I support that. But then we need to also have, we can keep, even if we keep the presidential, there must be a bit of tweaks to the parliamentary setting where it will be properly explained, all these expenditures, because the waste is incredible. What we're going through now is never imagined.
So how do you constitutionally, and I know you have never said or claimed to be a lawyer, but when you look as a politician who's been in the political domain in Nigeria for many years, how do you think it's going to be possible for Nigeria to have a constitution that says this level of wastage is not acceptable and this number of ministers in Nigeria and assistants and special assistants and senior special assistants will no longer be constitutional? How do you think that can be factored in?
I don't think it's a constitutional thing. Constitutional government, because constitutionally now, what we have is not what it should be. The Constitution says 1 minister per state. So 36 ministers. We have 40-something. So it's not a constitutional thing.
Should that be adjusted to maybe about 20 or even 16?
No, it's a leadership problem. It's a leadership problem. It's getting leaders that are conscious of the fact that our resources has to be prioritized in key development areas that makes a difference. It has nothing to do with it. Yes, we need to tweak the Constitution for what I said earlier. But today what you need is, you need competent leaders that have compassion and are dedicated to prioritizing the resources of the government to key development areas, which are health, education, pulling people out of the, securing the country, making sure things work. The cost of governance and the waste today is criminal and unaccepted.
Nigeria has more federal ministers than the United States of America. How do you begin to comprehend and understand why we need so many? Would you suggest that if you were to become the president of Nigeria at some point in the future, you will definitely reduce the number of ministers to how many? How many ministers do you think Nigeria needs?
For me, I would say within the Constitution. But I can tell you the cost of even keeping them and the waste across all the government will be drastically reduced.
So forget about what the Constitution says. If you were to have your way and you were to use logic and simple common sense, does common sense say that we need 36, despite the fact that the Constitution says it's 36? Do you think we need 36?
I have to look at what they are going to contribute. I have to look at their productivity. What is this they're going to do? Just like I always said, it is just not the number of people. What are they doing? If they are required and they have something they're doing, yes. But that what they're doing will be measurable. People have to feel it and know why they're engaged.
Okay, what I'm really trying to pin you down to tell me is, if you have your way and you have executive order that gives you permission to choose how many ministers you want to work with, would you like to have 6 or 10 or 20, or just say 36 is the number, I am happy to work with 36?
Thank you very much. I won't tell you exactly what I'm going to use here, but I won't go beyond the Constitution.
So what do you say to the current government that has gone beyond the Constitution by having more than 36 ministers?
They should stick to the Constitution and do the right thing. Because that's the basis on which they're governing. That is what they swore an oath to keep. The oath is to respect and keep the Constitution. So you live within it. That is actually the essence of what you're doing.
So would you call the action of the current government and the support that they've got from the National Assembly, would you describe it as illegal and unconstitutional?
Yes, it is. Because you're not working with the Constitution. You have to work with the Constitution. That is your Bible. That's what you swore an oath to keep. You cannot swear an oath to obey this and do otherwise. It's the same thing that is happening. Whether you're talking about issues of mismanagement of resources, corruption, everything, you're going out of the oath you swore to uphold.
Okay, so let's move on very quickly, because I know we have very little time to go through all the issues that affect the state of the nation. Now, the budget in Nigeria in the last 8 years has consistently been very low on investment in the area of agriculture. You spent a few days recently in Rwanda, and a paltry sum of 1.5% to less than 2% of our budget is going to agriculture. That provides about 20% of the GDP consistently over the last 10 years. What is your feeling about this, and what kind of number do you think this government should be looking at in terms of percentage of the 23, 25 trillion naira that is being budgeted for the entire nation? How much do you think should be going to agriculture, and why?
Well, let me you were even generous to them to say it's about 1.5. I don't think it's about 1.5, because the budget of agriculture this year is 362.9 billion, 363 billion, and the entire budget is about 28 point something, so it's about 1.3 trillion. So we're generous by giving them more. But for me, let me go back to my position on agriculture. It's to say that the two most critical area in Nigeria that is actually giving us the crisis is personal insecurity and food insecurity. And by solving food insecurity, you would have done a lot in dealing with personal or human insecurity. Because today, from the all records, you have 38 million people on the verge of extreme hunger. And you have huge number of your poverty capital of the world. So by going to deal with food insecurity, you're going to invest in agriculture, which will solve hunger, which is one of your biggest crises today, being 109 out of 120-something countries measures hungriest country. You're going to solve your hunger. You're going to create huge job, because you've seen it as the biggest in terms of GDP contribution. It's actually the same thing in employment. So you're going to solve issue of unemployment, because it's going to employ more people. It's going to help you, your industries, because they have raw materials to process. The entire value chain is agriculture, processing, marketing, and of course, till it gets to the table where people eat. So you're going to be dealing with that entire value chain, which will create jobs. It's going to help you to deal with the issue of inflation, because the biggest contributor to inflation today, negatively, is food inflation. By having more product, you're going to bring it down. You're going to be saving money you use in importation of food products, again helping your foreign exchange stability. And if you export, it's going to help you to bring. So everything about agriculture is a win-win that you need to invest aggressively on it. Because by pulling people out of poverty and everything, you reduce the criminality and all that. For me, areas of agriculture, which deals with the third issue of development, pulling people out of poverty, health and education will receive no less than 10% each of the budget. And it's important. But if you look at what we have said about agriculture, if you look at your agriculture today, with a budget of 263 billion naira, in fact, out of that 363 billion, the actual thing that you're investing is 252.8, under 253 in capital budget. By the time you add 160 for new jet, 21 billion for new VP house, 15 billion for Library of National Assembly, 15 billion for their clinic, and all other furnishings, you find out you have actually 250-something billion for the entire country to solve issue of hunger. In fact, the overhead for the entire agricultural ministry is less than 10 billion, which is about the money you have spent, about 50% of the money you spent just in housing the vice president.
All right, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. And when we come back, the first question I want to ask you is, you look at the National Assembly today and you wonder, there is no difference between any of the political parties. What are your thoughts about it? But let's hang on for just a minute. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have that conversation. Stay with us.
News on the go, live reports, real-time updates, unfiltered stories. I'm Bernard Akede. This is News Central.
Okay, we still have with us Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, and he was the governor of Anambra State. Mr. Peter Obi, it's great to still have you here. We don't have a very long time, so we'll make use of the limited time that we've got to have you in our studios here at News Central in this exclusive interview. So tell me, Nigerians are saying that all politicians are the same. In just a few minutes ago, you were invited to our newsroom and you told the young journalists, all of them that work for News Central, you told them that the problem of Nigeria is not Nigeria, it is politicians. That is the problem of Nigeria. So nobody should be praying for Nigeria, they should be praying for our politicians. Now that brings me to this question that a lot of Nigerians are asking about our politicians. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria decided that he wanted to make the National Assembly members happy by providing them brand new vehicles that cost a whopping sum. That is the dream of so many Nigerians, but they just could never touch. There is not one member of the National Assembly that rejected this vehicle, not even members of Labour Party in the National Assembly. What does that tell you about the quality and caliber of human beings that are called Nigerians that are in the National Assembly?
If you recall when I mentioned to the young ones, very energetic, hardworking young ones in this facility, I said that we are the problem. I didn't exclude myself. I said, we, the politicians, are the problem. I didn't exclude myself. And I was discussing with somebody yesterday, and I said to him, I read philosophy. And in philosophy, there's a topic called syllogism. And it says that when you have over 75%, you can't generalize without committing fallacy of generalization. In Nigeria, 95% of the politicians are the same. So the 5% remaining is very negligible. What we are saying is, how do we get one that will say, okay, I've had somebody confront me and said, okay, Peter, you wasted energy and time and you saved money. And when you were leaving government, you left huge amount of money. So tell me, which price did you get from doing that? Every other person took money and they are enjoying themselves today. You said you don't want to take the pension given to you as governor. So what difference does it make? You would have had a house in Abuja, a house in Oka, government is maintaining you. So it is a general thing that we've all agreed. That's why I always say, this is a criminal entity, organ, hijacked by criminals. The only way it can work is to dismantle it. But I know that if you have a leadership that can govern with determination, it can dismantle it. I have been a state governor, and I know what you mentioned with National Assembly is not the buying of the vehicle, but the impact on the society is far worse. Tell me how You can have the National Secretary of National University Commission recently said that Nigerian universities are in urgent need of PhD holders. I ask myself, who wants to be a PhD holder? If you become a PhD holder, you are employed as a graduate assistant level 2 or so in university. Your salary is 150,000 naira. Let me be generous and give you 200,000. That means in 1 year, you earn 2.4 million. Let's say it's 2.5 million. 2.5. If you decide as a PhD holder with 2.5 million naira annual salary to buy the car they've given to somebody whose only qualification is secondary school, it will take you 64 years.
So what do we...
Why would anybody want to be a PhD holder?
The level of criminality amongst our politicians is a disincentive to people who want to study.
When we talk about corruption, the reason why, because this is corruption, the reason why it is bad for society is that corruption kills entrepreneurship. Nobody thinks in a corrupt country. I said every day, why will I work hard to create a business and suffer to grow the business when I can make more money from being a politician? So you don't see people struggling to build business. Corruption kills professionalism. Why am I going to work hard to MPhD, research to be a professor? Because what I told you now, for a professor, is double the salary, 400,000 if he's paid. Why will I struggle to be a professor? In fact, if you're a professor, your salary, like I said, is 400,000 monthly, 4.8, so call it 5 million annually. For 4 years, without spending your money, you earn 20 million as a professor. 1 month's salary of National Assembly member is 21 million. Why do you want to be a professor? So corruption kills entrepreneur, kills professionalism.
So would you advise the president to do what he has done to the Supreme Court by increasing by 300% all university professors?
For me as president, we're going to dismantle this criminality. Everybody have to come at the same level, and we discuss the future of the country. And I say it's not that this is something that is verifiable. I was governor of a state. I was impeached within 6 months. You know that, of being a governor. And what was the problem? My own office as governor, there was a budget to renovate my office because it was burnt. The budget to renovate it was 298 million. I spent 42,300,000. That was my number one offense. Number two offense was that in my lodge, where I lived as governor, the entire budget, it was also burnt because they had a crisis before I came in. The budget to renovate the office was 486 million. I spent 81 million in doing everything. That was my second offense. The third offense was that I was saving money. Everybody knew. You can go to Suka and verify. When I became governor, no permanent secretary in Anambra State had a car. No judge had a car. And I said, no. I went to Pijo. Still on record that I was about the highest number of Pijo ever bought by government when I was governor. I went there and said, supply us 50 vehicles, 406, and in my first year, for 4 years, the vehicle I used as governor, it was 406. Permanent secretary, everybody was using the same car. 406 for the 4 years. In my first tenure, you can go, these are things that you can go and verify. And we shut down the office of First Lady, because they had more money than some of my ministries. I said, hey, wait a minute, what is this? Nobody voted this woman. It's my wife. We love her. We live in the same house. But he didn't campaign. Nobody voted for her. He should have had her own convoy, even with ambulance and everything, creating additional confusion that was not supposed to exist. We shut it down.
Let me go back to the budget that was initially proposed as 27.5 trillion, while 28.7 trillion was passed by the National Assembly and signed by the President. Who do we blame for those situations where we are bleeding money for every questionable things while our debt continues to skyrocket and we're struggling with high fuel costs, high food costs, high inflation, and people are saying we're hungry? Where do we put the blame?
Squarely on the man who is in charge.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Period. Nobody else. He is the man voted for. He is the man they declared the winner.
Why did you say they declared him winner?
Well, he was declared the winner.
Okay.
Yes, that's honest. He is the one who is responsible. No other person. That's why I told you I was impeached. Because I was the man they elected. That's why I can abolish First Lady office, abolish everywhere, and determine that I'm going to change this place. And he can do that comfortably. Look at our debts rising irresponsibly. God, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. Borrowing for any government globally is accepted. People make reference with every other country today. I've compared so many countries with the issue of borrowing. Even countries people cite, like Singapore. Singapore today owes over 100% of their GDP. But they have a clear law that all borrowed money must be for investment. Japan owes over 200% of their GDP in debt. But the money Japan borrowed, most of their debts, apart from being domestic, were used for the economy and the people of Japan. And today, the highest holder of U.S. treasuries, up until maybe 2 years ago, I don't know what happened. China, every other person we reference, have huge debts. But you could see where those debts were invested in. Today, we are the number 3 highest debtor to World Bank. That happened within the past 1 year. We actually estimated that the way we are going will soon be number 1 highest debtor.
The projection is that we'll have more than 150 trillion.
A country without anything to show for it. A country like Bangladesh is within those 3 highest debtors of World Bank. But they could see the difference. It is very clear. In 2015, let me not go back for that. 2015, when this APC government started, our debts was a third of what it is today. We are now over $100 and something billion. We're now in a situation where we can't explain what happened, but just look at a country like Bangladesh. In 2015, they had huge debts with a GDP of 195 billion and per capita of about 1,300. Today, Bangladesh, as of 2023, is with a GDP of over $400 $260 billion with a per capita of over 2,500. Nigeria in 2005 had a GDP of over nearly 500 billion with per capita of over 2,500. Today, our per capita is just about a little bit over 1,000.
Okay.
That is the crisis you face. And we have tripled our debts. That means the money we borrowed were all either swallowed by snakes, pythons, tortoise, monkey, all sorts of things. That's why we are now in this new song of go, where people put the money, the elephants even follow that ate the money because the man goes to parties.
Okay.
So it's a crisis situation.
Okay, the go one really got me. Okay, we'll take a short break, Mr. Peter Obi. It's great to have you here. We'll take a short break, then we'll go on the home run. We're still having here on News Central exclusive Mr. Peter Obi as our guest and the one I'm having this conversation with. When we come back, the conversation continues.
The News Central Town Hall series brings you face-to-face with the people at the center of critical conversations.
When the shooting started, where they killed the military, we lost 86 persons here in Nokoma community.
It's not even up to 5 minutes. Our building collapsed before the building that cast fire.
The building where daddy gives to me, everything don't collapse.
Women and children are suffering, nowhere to sleep, because notice was not given before the house was demolished.
It's a 700 kilometer stretch of road. It's going to take at least 8 years. It doesn't need to start here, this minute, this moment.
We go straight to the heart of issues to engage communities, leaders, experts, government representatives, and other stakeholders for veritable solutions.
We have more than 100 million Nigerians living below the poverty line.
We are suffering, we are hungry. No money to buy anything.
Please, I plead the government for assistance to help us.
The battle that we are at right now is a battle that is between the rich and the poor.
You know for a fact that there will be people whose voices will be the loudest, but yet those are the voices that you should listen to, for one reason or the other.
News Central Town Hall. We are here to listen, to learn, and to take action together.
You're welcome back. It's good to have Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, to have him live in our studio today. It's a thing of joy to have you, Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you very much for being with us. So let's move quickly. I want to talk about the fuel subsidy. But before I do that, let me ask you a question that just requires a very short and straightforward answer. You've said that our politicians are the problem in Nigeria. What is it that Labour needs to do differently to differentiate itself from the rest of the political parties? Or would you need to move away from Labour and set up an organic team that you may want to call the Obedient Party that will be made up of young Nigerians who are going to say, it's got to be different? In very short, straightforward answer.
Well, we're struggling to do that. We're struggling to be different. It's going to be difficult. For me, building strong parties and institutions in Nigeria, again, has to do with leadership, the encouragement. That's why I said, if we go back to the parliamentary system, it will go a long way, because after elections, those parties that did well or didn't are part of the parliamentary system where they have leaders who can do this, continuous improvement, and government and the systems have to help.
Will the system influence the quality of personnel that take up the leadership
Very
position?
important. I can tell you, you can. I keep saying this because I've served as a governor. So I know and there's no other way to measure. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't use the reference. We don't look at where people are coming from. So I come here today and say, I can run News Central better than you. Nobody looks at whether P2B have run anything of this sort. They say, yes. Let him come. He said, if then maybe I give people even money. They say, Mr. K is useless. He doesn't give us anything. This man will, in fact, he will turn the place around. But if you look at the record, I can tell you that Mr. K, I was a governor with 30 members of my assembly from different parties. The entire assembly, not one from my party. I was a governor without one senator from my party in my state, without one National Assembly member. Everybody was, different parties, except me alone. And yet, the state became most peaceful, most secured in that 8 years. In fact, a president of Nigeria told one of the PDP governors, go and learn how Peter is with his House of Assembly member. And when that person asked my speaker, how is it that you are in a different party and Peter is in a different party and all of you are working peacefully with him? He said he brings everything on the table. Transparency.
Did he include SUVs?
We didn't have money.
You didn't buy SUV for anybody.
I said I was using 4 OCs. How can they be using something better than me? They couldn't have. We actually quarreling. When they said to me, my counterpart in other states, I said, we have no counterpart in other states. Because they could see me, I shut down Anambra State Governor's Lodge in Abuja. Everybody knew. Because Governor of Anambra doesn't live in Abuja, and we couldn't afford to be keeping it. They know that. I shut down the Presidential Lodge in Awka from building. I said, no, the president doesn't live in Awka.
So you recommend the same thing for all the governors in 36 states who have, a lot of them are actually living in Abuja and not in their state today?
Why would they? I even recommend that when you finish governing, you should live in that state. Not just, even after. I live in Onitsha. The only place that I have a house today in Nigeria that is built by me, that is my own, is Onitsha. If you see any other one anywhere, confiscate it and take it. I live in Onitsha, in my house.
Okay.
Everybody knows.
All right, let's move very quickly. The recent fuel subsidy removal has stirred significant public debate. What would you have done differently? Because I remember you did say that from day one, you say subsidy is gone. What would you have done differently?
I didn't say from day one. I said I would remove subsidy.
You remove it. Okay.
I didn't say from day one, and I wouldn't have done it
from day
just ordinary announcement.
Okay.
I said, go and read my manifesto. I have to first remove the criminality associated with the subsidy. Because the criminality was over 50% of the subsidy. And then after removing it, we would have been able to present a detailed cost to Nigeria and replacing it with an alternative. What happens here is that people are ready to sacrifice.
And they're sacrificing
No,
now.
but you can't ask people to fast when you're feasting. Everybody has to fast at the same time. So you cannot be in a party, enjoying yourself in picnic and everything, going around with new jets and yachts and everything at the expense of the public. That is not leadership.
Are you claiming that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not giving leadership to Nigeria today?
Well, I said you can't buy New York, you can't buy yachts. You can't be renovating houses of vice president. Where did Osibanjo live? People can live in their houses and govern Nigeria. Where did they live? When I had no place to live in Awka as a governor, I asked them, don't we have any other government house? They said there's a small 3-bedroom house in Onitsha. I went to live in Onitsha. I was living in Onitsha for the 1 year. Ask anybody in Anambra State. I lived in Onitsha. Onitsha Koka is 30 minutes until we're able to build a new, and where we built and maintain it, when I was governor, throughout the year I was governor, I lived in a 3-bedroom house. Because Downing Street, where the British Prime Minister lives, is 4 rooms. 4 rooms. For an economy that is 10 times our economy, more than. Per capita in the UK is about $40,000. Per capita in Nigeria is 1,000, it's not up to 5% of that.
So if I were to put you on the top of a roof to say, scream to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what would you be saying to him about the idea of Nigerians saying the presidency is living large? What would you be saying to him?
Please, cut the cost drastically. There's too much waste. Why would we have Asoro Clinic being built for 22 billion naira when your national clinic, your #1 hospital, have less than 2 billion? It takes from Asoro to national clinic can be more than 5 kilometers. So why the clinic? When Trump had problem, they didn't take him to White House clinic. They took him to the military hospital where every other person, when Boris Johnson had COVID, they took him to hospital. Me and you can go. It's hospital. Why are we always doing what is wrong?
Okay.
It's just hospital. And he has ambulance all over the place. Even when he's moving, couldn't go on us. They move with ambulance. With other problems. So if anything happens, the ambulance will take him to the national hospital.
Yeah, excellent.
Should actually be there.
Yeah, okay. You've called on Nigerians to demand transparency from the NNPCL regarding fuel subsidy matters. What mechanism would you suggest to ensure this transparency and accountability? What kind of...
I said it. We have to show what is being removed and where it's being applied. You don't know what the subsidy is today. You don't know what is being removed. So what we are saying is, oh, subsidy gone. Electricity subsidy gone. Soon they will remove subsidy on air. If they have a chance, they will charge us for air. But we are not saying we will not do that. But tell us where it's going. Now we're being told there will be increase in VAT, increase in tax. There will be, you see people speaking language like, oh, Nigerian tax to revenue to GDP is low. Who are you taxing? You have 130 million people who are living in poverty, who have no job. Are you going to tax them? Where are they going to pay? They have not eaten, so how will they pay you tax? Tax is a social of productivity. It's a bank account. You have to put in something before you withdraw. So we want to charge them, but let us put something. What Nigeria want to see today, and what I want to see, is let Nigerian politicians start sacrificing. We can no longer continue. Did you hear people speculating about the number of jets that went to even China and other places and everything? We are still enjoying, celebrating every day.
Okay, let's move quickly. This is our final few minutes on this conversation. So the Labour Party is currently facing internal crisis, particularly with clashes over the establishment of an interim executive committee. What is your perspective on this issue, and how can the party move past these internal struggles? What needs to be done for the Labour Party to be exceptionally different from the other political parties?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. But like I keep saying, it is a difficult thing in a criminalized system where whatever effort you put in, the criminals around you in other parties will try to dismantle what you're doing. Kaide, I was governor of ABGA in Anambra State for 8 years. For the 8 years I was in office, ABGA was in crisis. It's the same thing. Because people will always want to put in the problems and everything. That's why I said that even in part of building and governing good governance, I, Peter, will ensure that all the parties have good internal democracy and govern well by supporting them, by making sure we exist as a body, we exist as a people. I will engage both the opposition, everybody, for us to come together in love and face and salvage the place. But what you see now is that to sustain the criminality, what we politicians today do is to continue to divide the system along tribe, along religion, along parties. Can they tell me the only reason why tribe and religion is still traveling in Nigeria is because when politicians don't have anything to offer in terms of competence, capacity, capability, and compassion, they replace it with tribe. So you say, Peter, can we know where you're coming from? How did you govern Anambra State? What did you do? You were owing to salary. He said, no, I'm an Igbo man. What has it to do with what you asked? Okay. If you say, where is your certificate? I'm an Igbo man, so I should be voted for. When you say, how are you going to do this? Oh, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Christian. And I've challenged people, let's go to Indonesia. The highest Muslim country in the world today is Indonesia. The Pope had just visited Indonesia recently and are praising the government. He didn't say these people are Muslims.
Yes. Okay.
He just left.
Because
then you have other places like that. In Dubai, I always said, the Catholic Church in Dubai, go there, on the wall you see it. The land and the church was built by Emir of Dubai, who is a Muslim. In Nigeria, it's the opposite. Have you seen where Christians buy bread cheaper?
No.
In Oyo, or Muslims buy bread cheaper in Kanu, or they buy fuel. I was in Katsina last week. Fuel is 1,002.
Yeah.
In Oyo, the same thing.
Same price,
because they are putting 80 million budget that will go into critical area, into unwanted children, or building dustbin in Oyo, which you know
okay,
will
very
never be
quickly,
built.
because we have to wrap up now very quickly. So tell me, do you feel very excited and happy about what is said to be the achievement of the only governor in your political party, Governor Alex Otti?
Yes. It's in the right direction. And I continue to tell him, whenever I have the opportunity to say to him, you're doing well, but continue in that direction. But always know that it's about the people. So always listen to the people. Don't just listen to people saying you're doing well. Go also. Governance is demand-driven. It is about the people of Abia State. Use their resources effectively and everything. And we work cordial and everything.
Still on your party then, the person who has become the interim leader of the party, the interim chairperson, there are allegations of corruption. In just 2 sentences, how do you feel about the allegations?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I've said it before. This man was Minister of State for Finance in Nigeria. He was not accused of any misappropriation or stealing. He was a substantive minister of finance, Minister of Finance. He was, when he was managing the billions for the country, he was not accused of misappropriation or stealing. She was a senator. So she was a minister of state, substantive minister, and she became a senator. In all this, he was not accused. He was only accused of about misappropriating or managing maybe 100, 200 million money when he became a campaign director. It's like me coming here and paying you for an advert, which happened not just to even some of the media houses
yes, some years ago.
They were being asked to refund money. They were paid for adverts because they are part of corruption. You cannot go to market and call market woman who sold, like going to restaurant and say, because they came here and had a huge bash for your wife's party, that the restaurant owner should refund money for the party because the money you used for it is stolen. How would they know?
Okay.
So for me, we need to separate all this. She is one of those Nigerians who cares about Nigeria. We discuss issues of Nigeria every day. And I discuss it with her. And that's why I said, you can't bundle all of us together all the time. There's a time you separate just few of us and say, this person is doing that, this person. And we need to look at people's background.
Because we have to go. Because we have to go. I won't go without asking you. Will you continue to be a member of the Labour Party, or are you considering your option, especially in the face of Chinese whispers about Kwankwaso and yourself?
Quite frankly, for me, I'm not desperate to be Nigerian president. I'm desperate to see Nigeria work. If I see people who can do the work better, I will. I've even had people who said I should not come out in 2027. And I said to them, offer yourself. And we will not put everybody on a scale. If they're better, I'll vote for them.
But would you stay with Labour Party in the next election if you're contesting?
Well, yes, I will be here. And if anybody is coming for us to negotiate or come together, you must tell me what, for what purpose. I will not join anybody for state capture or for winning election. I want anybody to tell me how are we going to ensure that no child is left behind. How are we going to put those millions of out-of-school children back in school? How are we going to create jobs?
Would you say yes to Kwankwaso joining you as collaborators to make sure that you have the support of the North and the South? Would you agree to that?
We must first establish what we are going to achieve by that coming together. Collaboration is not just going to be for state capture and continue the same consumption. So if it is collaboration for production, we will. So we want to dismantle the two biggest jobs in Nigeria is what I want to dismantle.
So your answer to a Kwankwaso collaboration and coming together will be a yes?
To anybody who wants to move Nigeria from consumption to production. For anybody who wants to pull people out of poverty, bring out-of-school children into school, and make it productive. Yes. But anything short of that, I'm not a part of it.
Thank you so much. There are so many questions that I would have loved to answer you, but time will not permit. Thank you, Mr. Peter Obi, for sharing your insights and perspectives on the current political landscape. The situation around the fuel subsidy, the Labour Party's internal crisis, and pressing national issues facing our country. Your contributions today have been invaluable in understanding the direction you propose and the changes you advocate. We appreciate your time, thoughtful responses, and our audience, we want to say thank you to every single one of you for joining and watching this conversation. We continue to bring you conversation with key individuals who are shaping the direction of our country. Mr. Peter Obi,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the program today. My name is Kayode Akintemi. Until next time, we hope you stay tuned to News Central, where we bring you very, very fearless broadcasts, and we are willing to take on bold conversation on the station. Just stay with us.